Multi-party coalition in Johannesburg, refuting claims by Councillor Colleen Makhubele that she's now the acting speaker of the council. Makhubele addressed the media earlier today in announcing where the minority parties announced that they want the mayor and Mpho to be removed. Now, the coalition is accusing Makhubele of being unethical and pursuing ANC's agenda under the guise of serving the multi-party coalition. Let's discuss all this with Dr. Corné Mulder now, speaking on behalf of the multi-party coalition. Dr. Mulder, good afternoon. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time. What's happening? What's going on?
I think what is happening is the fact that we have a situation where the ANC, the EFF, and some of the other parties are not prepared to accept that they've lost the election in November of 2021, and that are not prepared to allow the coalition government to govern and to do service delivery to the people of Johannesburg, and they are doing everything they can, almost on a weekly basis, to undermine this government and to try to bring it to a fall.
So they're making all kinds of claims, like there's bias, like they did with Vasco da Gama. Now Mpho, they say she's also biased, and they're accusing her of colluding with Vasco da Gama in hiding important reports.
No, that's nothing new, nothing strange, nothing unexpected. It's quite clear, and this is very important, because what we are seeing and what is playing out now is leading up to the major election in 2024, when we will have a change of government, most likely in the province of Gauteng, and even maybe on national level. So obviously each and every attempt is being used to discredit the mayor, to discredit the multi-party coalition government. We understand that, we expect that. The ANC is welcome to try and take power, but at least do it in a legal way and in the right means.
Now, this acting speaker story, there's no acting speaker of Johannesburg at the moment.
No. I think the correct term would be it's a figment of someone's imagination. It doesn't exist. The fact of the matter is that Colleen Makhubele is the chair of chairs. That's a position that she was put in by us as a coalition government. We elected her into that position. There's no deputy mayor in the city of Johannesburg, and there's no acting deputy speaker or acting speaker. So all what the rules basically says is that if the speaker during a meeting needs to leave the chamber, take a comfort break, then the chair of chairs chair the meeting until the speaker returns, and that's the end of it. So in this instance, there was a motion of no confidence, so the chair of chairs basically completed the meeting and acted in that position until the end of that meeting. Full stop. That's the end of it. So by trying to pretend that you are some kind of acting speaker or something is completely unlawful. It doesn't exist, and she knows that.
So she was chair of chairs. As chair of chairs, she had to finish that meeting of that day, and her role as an acting in that speech has concluded. So, but why would somebody, why would she be claiming this? Is there a lack of understanding? I mean, are you people as councillors not understanding how what the rules are?
I think the councillors know exactly what the rules are, and I think the chair of chairs know exactly what the rules are, but I think we may have a specific individual member here with a huge amount of ambition. Obviously, it seems that there's a problem. She's very much well aware of what the decisions of the joint caucus were that took the decisions how we should operate and what we should do, and she decided to do her own thing. So that's up to her. She represents the Congress of the People. She's their only representative in there, and the question would immediately be, is she speaking on behalf of herself? Because she's definitely not speaking on behalf of the coalition or on behalf of COPE, and that may have some consequences.
Yeah, now from the outside, when you hear all of this and you look what's happening now in Joburg, you wonder about the sustainability of coalitions, especially the Johannesburg one. Because until recently, if you looked around the country, the Tshwane Metro had problems. It's also led by the DA. Nelson Mandela Bay had problems. Johannesburg was fairly stable after a rocky start, after the November elections. I don't know what has gone wrong now.
I can tell you what went wrong now. The ANC is trying everything in their power to become relevant again. You'll remember that recently the ANC elected a new chairperson for the province of Gauteng. And obviously there's some new energy and an attempt to become relevant again and to try and wrestle these three metros in Gauteng away from the multi-party coalition. Let me rectify just one thing, and we are feel very strongly about that. In the coalition agreement, it's clearly stipulated that no specific specific party has the right to say that they lead the coalition government. And I know that sometimes people refer to some of these coalitions as being DA-led. They are not being DA-led. They are known as multi-party coalition governments. So they are stable as far as I'm concerned, and the current instability, if I may put it that way, is because of an orchestrated attempt by the ANC, by the EFF to topple these governments. Why? Because we saw what happened in the Western Cape. In Cape Town, for example, in 2006, when we ousted the ANC from the metro of Cape Town, they never, ever recovered from that, up to the point where they now have about 15% of the support in that province. And the ANC knows that. They realizes that in their documents, with their policy conference, they acknowledged that the loss of these 3 metros in Gauteng is devastating for the ANC. So they will do anything possible to try and get back into power. And it's our task to make sure that the will of the electorate is respected so that we can continue serviceability.
So are you saying that the multi-party coalition government of Johannesburg has done nothing wrong that warrants a vote of no confidence against the mayor, as the minority parties want?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. You must remember something else. When we took office in these metros, in Johannesburg and all the others, we inherited a very terrible, bad situation of the mismanagement and corruption under the ANC government for many years. And it takes quite a while to try and rectify that and to steer the city into the right direction so that we can start delivering services and do what we need to do. So now to try and put some things on the mayor, this and that and the other, doesn't warrant for motions of no confidence. But it's quite clear and it's quite easy to say the mayor is biased, the speaker was biased. Obviously, your opponents will always find a reason why there's so-called necessary motion of no confidence. And I think what one should also understand is that if you look at the 3 metros of Gauteng, then Ekurhuleni is a minority government. It's a minority coalition. Both Tshwane and the city of Johannesburg are majority coalitions, and we govern there, and that's why it's quite stable. But what happened in this instance was not because any of the political parties wanted to get out of the coalition. We are talking about 3 or 4 individual councillors who, against the instructions of their parties, against the decisions taken by the Joint Caucus, decided to vote in a specific way. And now the evidence is starting to come out. Some of them were enticed to do so with all kinds of lucrative promises and money.
Isn't all of this taking the council's eye off the ball from delivering?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the people who are trying to destabilize and are trying to topple these things must take responsibility for that. The multi-party governments are absolutely positioned and ready to do service delivery in the interest of the citizens of all of these metros. But the people who want to topple these coalitions are interested in power because they cannot function without patronage, without having access to tenders, etc., etc. We are here and absolutely determined to make a difference and to change things, and that's why we've said there's going to be lifestyle audits for councillors as well, and I think maybe some of them don't like that idea either.
So are you confident that you get beyond this? Because the way you are talking, you're convinced, in what I'm hearing, you're convinced that the multi-party coalition government in Johannesburg will survive.
Absolutely, I've got no doubt. There's a beautiful saying that says, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. We are absolutely determined. We will stabilize these coalition governments. We will do what we need to do to get our majority stable once again. And we are on a march towards 2024, and we will not be deterred away from that. South Africa cannot afford any longer the ANC as a government, and we will have to do that. And the only way to do that, to get rid of the ANC and the EFF, is by way of coalitions, and we need to prove that it is successful, and we intend to do so.
The current coalition has got the DA, it's got Action SA, it's got ACDP, it's got the IFP, it's got COPE, it's got Freedom Front Plus. In my understanding, those are the main parties, yes, parties to this agreement. As you head towards 2024, correct, from what you've just answered there, are you visualizing or imagining more parties joining you?
Well, we will have to wait and see. At this stage, we are talking about the political parties with proven support. Parties in the coalition because of the elected representation they've got. And we are moving towards 2024. And I believe that we may see some interesting things develop on the way to 2024. There may be some grand coalition coming about in terms of, but that's a different discussion, and we will wait until that happens. But you are correct. There's some more parties may become part of this process. And it works like this. The actual government itself, the actual coalition government, is only formed the night after we've got the final election results. That's what's going to happen in Gauteng. That's what's going to happen on national level. Once we've got the final results and we know the standing of the different political parties, then we can put the government together, and we are on our way to do so.
Okay, back to Johannesburg. What is the multi-party coalition government? As you correctly pointed out to me, it's not led by anybody. It's a multi-party coalition government with the various parties. What are you going to be doing now to prevent a vote of no confidence taking shape or taking root against Dr. Mpopalatse?
Yes. Yes, sure. Well, first of all, if any motion is brought, it must be done in a legal way. The next council meeting is the end of September. It can be brought under those circumstances, if that motion of confidence fits the rules of council and are acceptable and should be dealt with. In the meantime, the political parties in the coalition will proceed to strengthen their own positions, and parties will do their own thing. Each party does have its own constitution, and each party will take its own steps to discipline members or do whatever is necessary. We will consolidate the position of the coalition. And when the motion of no confidence comes, if it comes, we will be able to withstand that. And we will do also the necessary amendments or challenges within the constitution, in the government, in the coalition, if need be, also to strengthen the standing of the coalition government.
Dr. Mulder, what about the position of Speaker? Does the multi-party coalition government of Johannesburg have an idea who could succeed Vasco da Gama?
Well, first of all, we have a coalition technical committee that meets every Wednesday evening and that deals with all the coalitions. And on that technical committee, all the parties are represented. We meet on a weekly basis and we discuss these things. Obviously, when the time comes to elect a speaker, we will have that discussion and the parties will put proposals on the table. And you'll see I steer away from using the word a new speaker, because at this stage we can't say that it will not necessarily be the same speaker. Just because some parties did what they did doesn't mean that the coalition itself may have a motion of no confidence in the speaker, but it may be that he's not available, or it may be that the decision is taken to put another speaker in there. But when the time comes, we will take that decision and we will elect with the majority the speaker that we want.
So Mr. Vasco da Gama could come back?
Well, it's difficult to say at this stage. He's been removed from his post not because of the coalition that put him there in the first place. He's been removed because of the ANC, the EFF, and 4 row councillors. Whether we should listen to them in our future decisions is a different question.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. That's Dr. Corné Mulder speaking on behalf of the multi-party coalition government of Johannesburg, of course being party to that national agreement between a number of parties like his own party, Freedom Front Plus, COPE and others in this coalition arrangement after the local government elections of November last year. It's going to be interesting days ahead to see what's going to be happening in Johannesburg and elsewhere, of course, as the country prepares slowly for 2024's general elections.